Hello, let's discuss on transport of gases. Blood is the main medium for the exchange or transport of gases, that is the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now in the body, the RBC of the blood, that is the red blood cell portion of the blood, transport about 97% of oxygen and about 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide. It transport. Now let's first discuss on the transport of oxygen. Oxygen is transported by the red pigment called as the hemoglobin that is present in the red blood cell of the blood. So in the blood, the red pigment, that is the hemoglobin, which provide red color to the blood, carries the oxygen. Now when oxygen bind with hemoglobin, it form oxyhemoglobin. So the binding of the oxygen with the hemoglobin portion of the RBC form the oxyhemoglobin. So this hemoglobin transport oxygen from transport the oxygen in the body in the form of oxyhemoglobin. So this hemoglobin carries around 4% of oxygen. Now the binding of this oxygen with the hemoglobin is primarily related to the partial pressure of oxygen. When we say partial pressure, we are referring to the pressure that is being exerted by an individual gas when it is present in a mixture. So how much pressure? So here partial pressure refers to how much pressure that is exerted by oxygen and carbon dioxide when they are present in the mixture. That is referring to the partial pressure. Now the binding of the hemoglobin with the oxygen can be affected by several factors like temperature, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, hydrogen ion concentrations, and so on. Now in the alveoli of the lungs, so in the lungs the alveoli is the portion which serve as the site for exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. So in alveoli of the lungs, the partial pressure of oxygen is higher, but the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is lower, and even the hydrogen ion concentration is less, and even the temperature is less. So this condition favors the binding of the oxygen with the hemoglobin portion of the red blood cells to form oxyhemoglobin. However, in the tissues, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is even hydrogen ion concentration and the temperature is higher. Therefore at the tissue level, these factors favors the dissociation, that means the breaking of the oxyhemoglobin into hemoglobin and oxygen. So hemoglobin transport oxygen from the alveoli, transport the oxygen in the form of oxyhemoglobin, and then it transport into the tissue. So once the oxyhemoglobin enters into the tissue, this oxyhemoglobin dissociates or breaks into oxygen and the hemoglobin. So this is how oxygen is transported by the hemoglobin. Now let's discuss on the transport of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is transported by the hemoglobin in the form of carb-aminohemoglobin. So around 20 to 25% of carbon dioxide is transported by hemoglobin. Now the binding of the hemoglobin with carbon dioxide is to form carb-aminohemoglobin is also determined by the partial pressure of carbon dioxide and even the partial pressure of oxygen as well. If the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more, as in case of if the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is more, as in case of tissue, and the partial pressure of oxygen is less, then there is higher chances for binding of carbon dioxide with oxygen. However, if the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is low, as in case of alveoli, in alveoli the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is low and the partial pressure of oxygen is more. So this condition favors the dissociations of carb-aminohemoglobin into its constituent carbon dioxide and then hemoglobin. So the so these factors induce the dissociation of carb amino hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin transport the carbon dioxide in the form of carb amino hemoglobin from the tissues into the alveoli. So in the tissues, the condition favors the binding of carbon dioxide with the hemoglobin to form carb amino hemoglobin, and in the alveoli, the condition favors for the dissociations of carb amino hemoglobin to form its constituent carbon dioxide and hemoglobin. So from the tissue, the hemoglobin will transport this carbon dioxide to the blood, to the alveoli. So once this carbon dioxide reach to the alveoli, this carb amino hemoglobin will dissociate, and then from this alveoli the carbon dioxide will be released out to the outside atmosphere. Now at the tissue, due to factors like higher catabolisms, the carbon dioxide concentration and the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is higher. Hence, carbon dioxide diffuses into the blood, forming carb amino hemoglobin. However, at the alveoli sites, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide is low. So, the carb amino hemoglobin that is transported gets dissociated into its constituent carbon dioxide and hemoglobin. So this is how the carbon dioxide is released out from the body during expiration. When we say expiration, we are referring to the removal of carbon dioxide from the body. So this is how carbon dioxide is being transported from the body. Now we shall discuss on the regulation of respiration. In human being, respiration is regulated to suit the demand of the body tissues. This regulation is done in a special system called as neural system that is situated in the brain. So in the brain there is a special region called as the medulla oblongata that contain a specialized center called as the respiratory rhythm centers that is primarily responsible for regulation of this respiration. There is also another respiratory controlling center called as the pneumotaxic center, which is present in the pons varolii region of the hindbrain. So this pneumotaxic center releases a neural signals that can reduces the duration of inspiration. Now when we say inspiration, we are referring to the taking in of air from the outside environment or the atmosphere into the body. So these neural signals can reduce the inspiration, and hence it can alter the transpiration rate. Now adjacent to this medulla oblongata region of the brain is located a chemosensitive area that is highly sensitive to carbon dioxide and hydrogen ion concentration. So this area can send signals to the respiratory rhythm centers to make necessary adjustment to eliminate these substances, that is the carbon dioxide from the body. So this is how respiration is regulated in the body.